Hi, we have with us Spyros Vosinakis, who is a professor of the University of the Aegean. He is working in the island of Syros. He is a good friend of mine. He is a co-organizer in this very lovely symposium here in Delphi, and he just gave us two brilliant talks about virtual reality, virtual worlds, and the usage of agents, autonomous agents in various systems. He also made us a very nice comparison of virtual world systems. So we are going to have a small discussion here, a little discussion about your talks.
Hello, Spyros. Thank you.
It's very nice to have you here.
Very nice to be here as well.
You just gave two talks. The first one was about Google Art project and the Second Life, which is a very well-known environment in virtual worlds field. So, what was the main concept of that presentation?
Okay, yeah. Look, we see here two streams. I mean, the one stream says, okay, I take photographs around and I'm immersed in a space which is photographed, so I can look around the physical space, something like that. Very good digitization of the physical space. On the other hand, I have a modeled environment. Okay, so I have a 3D space that I just built and I can move freely around. So it's kind of a different interface. But what do we want to recreate? I mean, when we are talking about virtual museums, do we want the user to feel like being there in the real museum or just know something about the exhibit? So that was the aim of the research. I wanted to know what is the impact to the experience of the user, first of all, of having this panorama, this digitized environment, and second, having this modeled environment where you can freely walk. So we recreated the same space in these two systems to test how the users would react in these spaces. Okay. So what we found out is that okay, if you are interested in art and in culture and so on, it's better to have a very good visualization, to have a very detailed picture of the environment. But on the other hand, the Second Life environment was much more playful. And this is also interesting because we want to engage people in culture. It's not only about learning things. Okay, you can learn also in books and on web pages and so on, but you need also to add these engaging aspects in the visit. So our vision and our belief is that these two approaches should be combined. We believe that there should be a platform which combines the fun elements, the playability, an environment like the 3D games maybe, so that you can walk around, you are free, you can see other people as well, because this is also a collaborative space, and we know that in museums a lot of people do like this social aspect. They like the social navigation aspect, for example, that I'm looking at an artifact and I see that a lot of people are there looking at another artifact. So I say there's something interesting there, so I should follow them and see what's going on there. Or maybe I comment about something. I don't want to feel isolated. So Google Art Project is very nice, but it isolates you, but it gives you very good detail about the environment. So the interesting thing would be to combine these two platforms to have something which would allow you to have a very high detailed presentation of the exhibits, but also to have these fun, interesting interactive elements of 3D spaces, to be able to explore, to see other people, to have your avatar, to have your own role in the environment and so on.
I happen to find this work very important because you are trying to take focus from the technology and put it on people, on users. So you are not developing things for technology, you're not doing technology for technology. You're studying what technology offers actually to the users.
This is because I happen to be in a department which is about product and systems design, and our focus is on the user-centered design. So our focus is not, we think of design not as creating something, but as solving a user problem. So we start from focusing on the problem and then start to see the solution space and the appropriate solution. So in the cultural context, what we thought about was, okay, what does the user need? What does he want to recreate from the actual experience? So we want to see how the systems can bring these affordances to the user. So which system is more appropriate so that he can feel that he's there, he can learn about the exhibits, he can have fun about it, have motivation, and so on. So I think it's interesting to make these evaluations, to make these comparisons so that we can get more qualitative and maybe also quantitative data, and this could drive maybe future guidelines for creating more usable, more user-friendly cultural applications, virtual heritage applications.
I find this review very important in this field, but we have limited time here, so I have to move on to the next presentation, which was about the Virtual Agora project that involved also. It was actually a multi-agent system, and there you had to do some studies. So can you describe what was the problem that you were trying to solve there?
There was the other end. So one end is the tangible, as we call it, cultural heritage. So we have the artifact. The focus is on the artifact with the virtual museum. But on the other hand, the focus is not only about artifacts, but it's also about ancient culture. So what happened there? What happened in ancient Athens? How did people live their daily life? How did they make offerings to the gods, maybe? How did they work? How did they collaborate together? So we wanted to bring this dimension. So our focus was not on accuracy, like to have a very perfect model of the temple, for example, because that was not our goal. Okay, the student can find very good models of the temples, for example, but the goal was to immerse the student in something like an adventure game, maybe, or a simulation environment, that he could feel part of this ancient culture. So it's about cultural presence. This was the goal. Now, regarding technology, our, let's call it, innovative aspects of the approach was that we wanted to have biologically inspired agents. So we used an agent model that has needs that drive different behaviors. So we started from how real people start to decide about their behaviors. We added aspects of personality, of different roles, professions, and so on. So we made an agent, virtual agent architecture, which drives the various agents. So what we actually did was we recreated some aspects of the daily life in ancient Agora of Athens. But it was not actually a detailed replication of the Agora and the exact position of the various buildings. Okay, it was just some indicative buildings which simulate some aspects of the daily life. So the idea was that the student goes there, plays there, okay, and learns some things. So he feels immersed in a part of history that he didn't live. Yes. He just gains something out of it. And this is the intangible part of heritage. You cannot easily describe this as a text. You need a story to be experienced, to learn more about this, I believe.
Did you have the chance to evaluate that project?
No, not yet. This project is still under development. We are in the phase of testing, so we have created some simple parts of the story. We have the underlying technological aspects.
Which seem to be very intriguing.
Yes, of course. But because it was not the focus of this conference, I haven't focused too much on the technology aspect, but it is quite interesting because we're using multiple servers there to have various aspects communicating, yes. But regarding the application,
you know, you can talk to me about that.
Of course, of course.
But nevertheless, I believe that at some point you already have plans for evaluation.
Of course. This is necessary. We find this appropriate. We are still in the process of validating and fine tuning, because you know the issue of fine tuning is important, because in a simulation, the question is, do you want to have it in real time? Because if you do want, then the visitor should wait for a single day to see what happens in a single day. But do we want the visitor to wait for a single day? Of course not. So you want to accelerate it. But you want to know in which parts are interesting to accelerate and which parts maybe it's better to be left out. So we're still in the process of fine-tuning this. Okay, how can we, for example, simulate the hunger that drives people to find something to eat, to buy something and so on? So should it be in a daily basis? If yes, then the visitor will not be able to see it. So we want to fine-tune this so that a visitor in a process of, for example, 1 or 2 hours can understand a lot of things about daily life. So we are still fine-tuning and testing the
I have already faced that problem myself. So please keep me posted about that, okay?
Of course.
Please keep me posted. So, Spiros, thank you very much for being with us.
I thank you too. Welcome.
Thank you.